big silence.
Come here, Cujo.
Everybody wants daddy. Where's daddy?
Come
Where's
here.
daddy?
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And of course, if you hear another panting Pomeranian in the background,
He's back.
he's back.
He's cute.
He's definitely cute.
Yeah, he's cute.
This is Cujo in the background.
Hey.
Bobby's sidekick.
Hey, what do you think? Cameras? There's your camera. Don't look into it. It's like they're there, but they're not there.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to The Big Silence. Today's episode is with Yovana Mendoza. Before I dive into who she is and what we talked about, I want to know if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, the lighting is a little off. I don't have that heavenly lighting up there. We're running off a generator.
No, we're not. We decided to cut the generator.
Okay. Well, so Bobby has a bobcat. What is a bobcat? Explain what that does.
It's like a mini tractor that you can go around and you can move dirt, lift rocks, shovel things.
Yeah. So as we were prepping for today and I was trying to go into the infrared sauna and the cold plunge, Bobby took his bobcat, because we're working on a project in the backyard, and ran into electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
ripped
straight through it. 240?
Yeah.
I knew that.
Danger. Yeah, you don't want to mess with that.
And we lost all of the electricity in the studio. Oh, and that's...
We're working.
I know.
We're here.
But we figured out a way where we could still have Yovana here and figure out how to record the podcast. But that is on top of yesterday's occasion with the bobcat. Interesting name, Bob. And yesterday you ripped through the septic. So I haven't been able to take a shower in 2 days.
It's fixed.
It's fixed now.
Yeah,
well, it just got fixed like 5 minutes ago. I just want to point that out. And I'm very excited because I've used some wipes for my armpits the past 2 days.
Listen, you're acting like you were going to shower anyway. All right.
I really wanted to wash my hair and my feet.
All right.
Anyways, again, welcome. I'm excited for my guest, Yovana Mendoza. We had such a great conversation. She literally just left the studio like 15 minutes ago. And she's a wellness and healthy living entrepreneur. And you got to follow her. How to follow her is in the show notes. But I met her back in 2017 for the first time. And she was at the Tone It Up tour in Los Angeles. Did you meet her?
You know, I saw the picture and she looks so familiar, but there's a lot of faces that have come through. And I don't know, she looks so familiar to me, but asking me to remember
That's like
something
asking me to remember
from yesterday.
You.
Yeah. I mean, that
guys,
took a while.
I don't know if you know, but I met Bobby like 10 times and reintroduced myself every time. And he thought I was the biggest little nasty bitch. And then he fell in love with me.
That's right.
We were, just to clarify, we were both dating other people at the time, and it was in group settings and barbecues. And here we are.
Yay.
Here we are. All right. So really awesome conversation with Yovana. I appreciated her opening up, and we talk about things that we didn't even expect to talk about. So here we go. And Bobby was chuckling over here being the sound man, handyman.
Yeah, you girls were vibing. I was laughing. It's funny.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy. Welcome to The Big Silence. Yovana is here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I am so
you.
We got connected through a mutual trainer. You guys know I always speak trainers need trainers.
Yes.
And so Brent, thank you for connecting us. Yovana lives here in Austin, and we were connected on text. And then you sent me a picture from 2017.
Yes, September.
Of 2017 of me, you, and Kat at the Tone It Up fitness event, the tour. And we met there 2017. So we've known each other for 5 years.
Yeah.
Ish. Or 4.5.
And now we meet in Austin.
I know. That's so awesome. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So excited to be here.
So we're going to dive deep into a lot of you and what you've gone through. Obviously, we're a mental health podcast, but we also like to have fun. So if you're open to having any conversations and if there's any questions I ask that you don't want to answer, let me know.
Okay. I'm like big fangirling right now because I've been a fan of you and Tone It Up for years.
When did you first find Tone It Up?
I think it was 2015.
Okay.
So,
and you've been on YouTube since 2013.
2013. Yeah.
Which she has an amazing following.
Thank you.
YouTube and Instagram and all of that. And I love what you're doing and promoting just a healthy lifestyle and kind of what Tone It Up believes in, as well as the balance between it all and the movement and the nutrition and how that's all really important for mental health. And I don't know where to even start. I know that you began as a vegan.
Yes. So that's how it all started, or how I started my social media career.
Yeah.
Now it's a career. Back then it was a hobby. It was in 2013 when I went on this 2-week detox after having breast surgery to help me heal quicker from it.
Which have now been removed.
I now removed. At the time I put the implants in, and now the implants have been taken out. 2019, I took them out. So at the time, I was healing from that. And I went on this raw vegan detox, and it made me feel amazing. And I felt alive again. I was drinking green juice. I was eating raw foods. And in those 2 weeks, I made the decision at the time I was smoking cigarettes. I was partying every single weekend, getting super drunk, having blackouts. And in those 2 weeks, I was feeling so good. And my anxiety went from like a 10 to like a 1 that I decided and asked God and prayed that I wanted to quit drinking and stop smoking. And I did it like cold turkey. So I remember I would call it from rebel to raw. That's what I would call myself.
I love that.
Back then, because I made the switch really quick. And after that, that's how everything started.
So
for me.
I know there's so many questions running in my head, and I always take notes. So what was your process to go from rebel to raw? I always ask people like the baby steps, because so many people and women listening are like, well, how do I even begin?
Yeah.
So I always ask this question.
So it was pretty, I can be a little extreme. So I really literally make the switch from one day to the next. It was not, I didn't really do baby steps. It was like, I was in this retreat, Optimum Health Institute in San Diego. I went there for 2 weeks, and I got out of there like a completely different person. And I truly believe it was God that helped me, because I honestly, like, I kneeled one day when I was in there and I asked to my higher power, like, I need help. I know, like, in my gut, I knew that if I stopped drinking, like, my life would, something would change. Like, my life would change for the better, because I was able to see my life from a third perspective, and I was seeing where that lifestyle was leading me, and it wasn't leading me in a place in a way that I felt proud of myself.
And what year was that?
That was 2013.
2013. Oh yeah. Okay.
So I got out of there, and I continued juicing and drinking smoothies, and I read, the China study and all these plant-based books, and I got convinced that was the diet. That was the best diet in the world.
Yeah.
And
And then can we back up?
Yeah.
Pre-2013.
Yes.
When you were, say, 12, 13 years old, and your relationship with food back then.
Yeah. So I suffered from eating disorders when I was 10, 11, from 10 to 13, anorexia and bulimia. And this was well, after going through therapy. I started going to therapy when I was 12 years old. And the reason for my eating disorders at the time was because I was sexually molested when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
So I wasn't like, he didn't rape me, but he touched me in ways that he shouldn't have touched me. And I was young. I was 10 years old. Wow. Yeah. So that developed into eating disorders that I had. So in my early teens.
As a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I'm so, as a 10-year-old, how did you know that you were being sexually molested? And how did you go to someone to tell them that you needed therapy or you needed help? How did you speak up?
It happened 2 times. And after the second time is when I told my dad. So he was the brother of the pastor of the church that we were going to. And it happened once at the pastor's office when everyone was gone. And I don't know how I ended up in the office with him alone. And he just came from the back and lifted my shirt and just touched me in a way that felt weird. He did it a second time during church, the singing part before the service when all the lights are down, and somehow hugged me from the back and did it again. And then about a week later, I couldn't sleep at night, and I woke up. I got up from my bed, and I went over to my dad in the living room, and I told him what happened, and that I felt like it was weird. Like I felt weird that he did that, and like I wasn't sure why he did it, but it felt wrong. Mm-hmm. So I guess I spoke up just because there was something in me that didn't feel right about it. It didn't feel like it was something that he should have done.
Right.
And I felt at the time ashamed too. I felt like it was something, like I wasn't sure if I was doing something wrong too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so then, wow. So as your parents, your dad, what did...
I think he went and beat up the guy
Hell yeah.
that night. Called the police. Police came the next day, but I didn't want to talk about it. So kind of just left it at that. I closed up. Being 10 years old, I remember saying, I don't remember anything. Like, I don't want to talk about it. So my parents kind of just let it go. Mm-hmm. They were like, oh, well, I guess she's fine. But then when I was 13, I was in middle school. That's when my parents found out that I had bulimia at the time. But I started to develop an eating disorder like weeks after that incident, because I remember not eating or like having a weird relationship with food. Like I was all of a sudden, I would like look at myself in the mirror in different ways. I'd weigh myself, and I was really young.
Yeah, I don't know what year you were born, but I was born in 81.
I was born in 89.
Okay. And yeah, even that 12, 13-year-old age for me, the friends, we would check in like, what'd you eat today? I said, I had a Diet Coke and a carrot. Yeah. Well, I only had a sip of water. Yeah. It's like
so
awful.
Weird. So weird.
But it does come, I don't know if it comes from trauma or what it is, but it's terrible. And I can relate. I had bulimia and for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go. I wasn't expecting to go in this direction.
I know.
But this is good because I want to know. Because for myself, with my mother and my relationship with my mother, it was hard for me to trust again. Because growing up with a schizophrenic mother, you believe in their delusions and everything they're telling you. And as you're a 10 to 12, 13-year-old girl, if your mom tells you your dad is the Antichrist, he's bad, he's this, you believe her. Mm-hmm. So it took me a long time to be able to trust again and love again once I realized that she was with her diagnosis. So with you, with what happened, there's two questions I have here. Mm-hmm. Number one, how you would be able to trust in men again, because now you're married with 2 babies and you can love again and you can trust that you, and number 2, you speak about you praying to God and asking him for help, because that was my other thing when my mom's delusions were very religious, where I cursed a higher power for many years before I could come back to it. So those two things, like, how did you learn to trust again?
It took me years, years of therapy, years of being in toxic relationships until I finally really worked on it, specifically for relationships. Because I found myself going into these toxic patterns with relationships. And also I grew up with a father that had an addiction. And I found myself looking for partners that were very similar to my father. Mm-hmm. And so I was in a very long on and off relationship for 8 years. And the last time I broke up, I decided that I wanted to break that cycle. So I hired a relationships coach, and she helped me heal through a lot of issues that I had with my mom, with my dad. She taught me how to place boundaries with them, how to really see the value in myself, because I had very low self-value and self-worth. So I'm still working on that, by the way.
Trust me
too. It's not like it just, I'm not completely healed. It's like a everyday work.
Well, that's important to point out too, is that we are forever students of life. Mm-hmm. And the biggest step is just being able to step into that and accept that and be like, I want to continue learning and growing and healing, because there's so much trauma that's stuck in our body, and just being aware, like, that every day I'm going to be a better version of myself. And some days it's going to, but
exactly.
That's okay too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a never ending work. And it's beautiful too. I love the process of it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and she really helped me I basically went on this like men detox for a year, to really heal and connect with myself. And I finally left my parents' house at 28 years old.
28?
Yes. Oh. I would have been able to leave sooner, but I was very attached. It was really hard for me to leave my house. I was very comfortable there.
Yeah.
So I made that step to move out and live on my own, and really start thinking about the life that I want to build, and like the partner. I began to visualize the partner that I wanted to attract and the relationship that I wanted to have. And it took many times of guys approaching me, and she helped me through a lot. So she would point out the red flags and like, see, like, this guy is exactly what you've been attracting. Like, this is not what this is, if you go into this, you're going to go into the same cycle. So it took a lot of that, of like making space, of like many times I wanted to go into these relationships or date these types of guys that were the same type. And it took a lot of me saying no to that, and making space for the right person to come in. And because whenever someone, a good guy, quote unquote, would come into my life, it'd be like, it was boring to me. It was like, there's no drama here. Like, this is boring. Like, he cares about me. Like, what?
No, push him away.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw that I would do that. Like, any guy that would treat me good, I didn't want that. I wanted the chase. I wanted the toxicity. And so once I finally saw that pattern, I was able to break it. So eventually met my husband, and at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is like
too boring.
Yeah, too boring. And so
we mean that, and like, I get it. I think I tried to break up with Bobby like 3 times in the beginning. I'm like, you're too good. I'm breaking up with you.
I need more drama in my life. And so I remember after the first date, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go out with this guy anymore. And so I my therapist, she's like my spiritual mom. She was like, no, yeah, you're going to go out with him again. You're going to give this guy another chance. And I liked him, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But as I began to go out, talk to him more, and really receive the love, open up.
Mm-hmm. It's about receiving.
Yes, open up. Yes, exactly. And having that cup to receive the love, because essentially leaning into my femininity, that's as a woman, that's what I do. I receive in a way. I mean, we all receive, but that's in my mind, that's what I began to see it as. And 4 months later, we were engaged.
Wow.
And 2 months after that, we got married.
Amazing.
It happened very quickly.
Yeah, but when you know, and you're like a very grounded person, like when you know. I mean, of course, you thought he was boring
at the beginning, but then
no, I know.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Also, I want to make a mention that those months, for 6 months, I didn't see my parents at all. So that was like a part of the healing process for me, to really step away from what I knew to create what I wanted and not repeat the same things, because I was repeating. I'm a very easily influenced person. So if I'm around certain people, I will start to mimic the same things unconsciously. So I had to step away I love my parents, and we have a great relationship, but I didn't want the same as what they had.
Or the influence.
Yeah, or the influence. I mean, I talk openly about it with them. They know. They know what I know, and it's I'm glad I can have those conversations with them. So I wanted something different.
Yeah.
And I had to do that for 6 months. And it was part of the healing.
Yeah.
For me.
Do your husband and have you like had to get into therapy? Because are you ever triggered by anything?
Oh, yes, all the time. And he's actually a great communicator, and he's really good at helping me. Well, I guess we're each other's mirror, right? We want to get into therapy not because things are bad, but we want things to be better. And also having a baby. Our baby is 4 months old. That has brought up a lot of things. But
that's baby number 2.
No, number 1.
Oh, number 1.
It's our first baby.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you had 2 babies
no.
for some reason.
It seemed like I was pregnant for a long time. Our first baby. So that has brought up a lot of things, of opportunities to grow and heal. Yes.
And then the other question was about your faith. God, getting back to that after cursing or just, sorry, cursing would be my word growing up. But after that happens in the church, to be able to come back and have faith again.
My relationship with God, I never blamed it on that. I feel like when I was in my party stage, I was very distanced from my relationship with God. And once I stopped drinking and stopped smoking and got back into my body and my center and connected again with my spirituality, I reconnected with God too. And in the time when I was raw vegan, I did a fast. And that was like a big, I wouldn't recommend the fast now, but spiritually it was great because I had a lot of time to read the Bible. And I grew up Christian, so that's my version of God that I know.
Right.
I feel
and everybody's version of God is their own, the higher power. So
whatever it is for you. But I truly believe there is a higher power. Yeah. That is my source. That's where I find my peace. That's where I find my hope, my strength. That's where I tend to go into fear a lot of times. I find myself going into that state, and I find myself going into that state when I'm not connected to God. I find that when I'm connected to God, to my relationship to Him, and talking constantly to that higher power, praying, there's no room for fear.
Mhm.
I feel good. I feel grounded. And I haven't found a church. I don't really go to church. I just kind of talk to him whenever I feel like it. I pray and I meditate in silence. And that's how I connect.
What is your
to God.
meditation practice like in silence? Because a lot of people have trouble sitting in silence. But I went to this meditation retreat. I don't know if you know who Kyle Cease is, but Bobby and I have gone to 2 or 3 of his retreats, and there's a lot of hours in silence. But I love what he says. He said, if you cannot sit with yourself in silence, how do you expect anyone else to sit with you?
Oh, wow. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so ever since I had a baby, finding
Silence
has been difficult, or making that time for myself has been not challenging, but it takes more effort for me to even just make 20 minutes to work out. It's not as easy as before, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to work out. It's like, okay, wait. Is she fed? Is she sleepy? Do I need a burper? Is she okay? Like, who's going to take care of her? Like, there's so many things that go into it.
Yeah.
It's not as easy. So honestly, my meditation now is when I pump.
You're
when I'm pumping, I like literally I just sit and that's like the moment where I'm alone and I can actually be with myself.
Yeah.
So I just sit and breathe and focus on my breath.
That's perfect. I mean, everyone thinks that meditation's so hard. Just find a moment.
That's
2
like
seconds.
my moment. Yeah. Because a baby is like a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
Like, so I know it's not going to be like that forever, but at this point in my life, that's how it is.
You're 4 months in.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to Yovana.
Yes. Oh.
I Googled you this morning, and the first thing that came up was like,
oh my God.
Yovana was eating fish.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know how that news, it went viral.
Yeah.
Like, it was in the news in Europe, in Mexico, and Latin America. I mean, it was everywhere. It was crazy.
So for the listeners, Yovana was vegan raw. Right?
Yeah. So I my name's Yovana, and my name back then was Ravana.
Yeah. And then her doctor suggested that you add some fish, or you can explain the story better than I can. But
yes, animal protein, essentially. Yeah. Because I had been vegan for 6 years. And
built your platform on that.
Yes.
And your followers.
Yes, everything. I was raw vegan for 3 years and then vegan for 6 years, or 3 more years, so 6 years total. I was the first Latino person to ever go on social media and talk about, or that became big to talk about raw veganism and veganism. Like, I was the biggest Latino spokesperson about vegan in the world, probably at that time.
Right. And you did it because it was a part of your healing process.
Oh, for sure.
You were passionate about it.
Oh, yes. Oh, extremely passionate about it. I mean, it was like, this saved my life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell people, like, look, if you just eat fruits and vegetables, a lot of good things will happen in your life.
Right. Because what you put in your body is for your mental health. For sure. Not only just physical.
Yes.
But things change.
Yes, things change. And so when that happened, so that the last 2 years of when I was vegan my health was declining. My hair was falling out. I had gut issues. I had hormonal problems. It was like going downhill. And then the last year, it was like quickly going downhill. So I had literally tried everything by this point. I would take so many supplements, try tweaking my diet, adding more protein, adding more fat, all plant-based, obviously. But at the end of it was when I developed SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And my stomach would get like bloated after eating anything. I would go days without going to the bathroom, and then like 2 days with being constipated, and then 2 days of like constant diarrhea. Like for months, this would happen. So towards the end, I finally gave in, and I was like, okay, this is clearly not working. I'm going to try something different, and I'm going to add some protein to my diet. So I started with bone broth, or I started with collagen, and then I did bone broth, and then I did eggs. And this all happened in like a 2-month span. And then a couple weeks later, I added some fish into my diet. And all of this I was doing, I guess, quote unquote, behind the scenes. I wasn't telling my followers what was happening because I was figuring it out. And it was like a big deal. Like I was the vegan girl, you know, and like.
And you were going through your own stuff. Like, how do I'm transitioning into this.
For sure.
My doctor wants to, I'm working on my health. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It was like an experiment.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think I think I'd be like eating fish and eggs for a little bit and then get better. And then I would go back to my vegan diet. So it was around I had been following like plant-based with fish and eggs diet for like a month and a half. And I went on this trip to Bali with a few other vloggers. So on the trip to Bali, we were sitting at a table and we were eating, and I ordered my fish with veggies, right? I was eating fish. So this one girl that was in the trip, she was filming, and she filmed a part where I come out, like my plate has fish on it. And once we came back from the trip and we all started posting our photos and uploading our videos, you know, she uploaded that video and forgot to cut that part out. We're not going to go into that, but essentially it got leaked, and she noticed an hour later because she started seeing comments on the video. And this girl is like, has 8 million followers, you know? So she took down the video, deleted that part, and then re-uploaded it again. But by that time, someone had already like captured that part of the video and like made a separate YouTube video out of it and like named it Yovana Eats Fish or Ravana Eats Fish. And so that day, I remember like Instagram was down for like the majority of the day. This was 2019.
I remember that day.
You remember that day? It was in March. I remember perfectly. Like I was trying to upload a video the whole day and I couldn't. And so then I come on there at 9 p.m. and I upload my video. It was like a brand collab that I had too. And I get like 1,000 comments in like 5 minutes of like fishes. Or like, you're eating fish. Fake Vana, fake Vana, fake Vana, fake Vana, fish Vana. And I'm like, what? And then she messages me. I got a message from her. She's like, hey, I'm sorry this happened. I'm like my heart just sunk. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what just happened? And that's when the bomb exploded.
Yeah. So then, all right. So then you went off social media for a while.
Then I went off social media for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I like deleted all the social media apps while I try to figure out what to do. But in the meantime, there were like, I mean, even the Washington Post did something on it. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Really?
So first question, I want to know what you did while you had 3 weeks off social media. And then also how that affected, because coming from you as a teenager, a young teenager, having an eating disorder.
Yeah.
How that affected your relationship with food, where you're like, wait, it just seems like now I can't eat this. I can't make my own decisions.
Oh yeah. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
Even when I feel like being vegan really helped heal my relationship with food, because I was eating a lot more and I wasn't eating with guilt. Like I would just eat because I was like, oh, this is like really good for me and I feel great and I can stay lean and have a fit body and stuff. So, but once I had to change once I had to make that change for my health, that was really confusing, because it was like, okay, everything that I believed that was like the healthiest for my body, I'm now learning that it's not working for me anymore. So, it was just, I just kind of rolled with it for a while. Like I was like, okay, not really sure, but I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust that this is going to heal my body. And I focused on that, on health. Like I focused on my health. That was like the reason why I started in the first place in 2013. So I kind of had to go back to the core of it.
Yeah. And as we age as beautiful young women, our bodies change and our needs change too. And I think that's important to point out. Did you, so then emotionally, mentally, dealing with the bullying and everything, how did you manage that?
Honestly, the first year after it happened was really hard mentally for me because there were videos, hundreds of videos made of me on YouTube, and every single post I made, video, photo, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, would get hate, like every single one for a year. So no matter what I did, I was going to get hate for it, but I also didn't want to stop doing because I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing or being on social media because I like it. I enjoy it. It's like, I knew that I had the haters, but I also had support. It's just that the haters were very loud.
They're always louder.
Yeah.
They're always louder,
I know.
But they're always fewer of them.
Yeah.
So
exactly. They're very loud.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was kind of like that there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't know when, but I knew that it would happen. And everything collapsed that year. Like a lot of brands didn't want to work. I mean, no brand really, very few brands wanted to work with me because every single post was getting so much hate. All my ebooks that I was selling, I stopped promoting. I mean, I was not really like producing much.
Yeah. So it affected your career.
It affected my career for sure.
And did you think that you would not be able to have a comeback?
Yeah. Many times I did.
Yeah.
Many times I did. But I think it took like a year and a half when I saw things turning, when I saw just the hater, not so much hate. Brands started to get interested in me again, and I started to feel more inspired to create. I wasn't creating from this like fearful state of I started to create again from an inspired state.
And how did you get there to like from going of feeling uninspired and fearful? What was it in you that brought you out of that where you're like, I got this. I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to be the powerhouse that I am. How did you get that confidence?
I think it happened when I started to trust in myself again. And it happened when I began to see the positive changes that my new diet was having on my body. So it took a while for my body to heal. But once I started to see, like, realize, like, look, you feel better, your health is better, you are thriving again. Like, it's so you can share this to the world.
Yeah, just be yourself.
Just be you. Exactly.
Be you, and if someone wants to follow you, they can. If not,
exactly.
unfollow you.
When I let go of the number thing of like how many followers do I have, how many people like my photos, like when I let go of all of that and I just focused on creating the things that I wanted to create and doing it for myself first, and then share that with the rest of the world, that's when I started to enjoy it again, and that's when my social media made a turn and I started to make more of an impact again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Just being authentic to you and servicing your community with what's authentic to you. And then they will come, and you are doing such beautiful work in that space between like your videos and your positive attitude and your openness. I think that being so open and everything that you, even in this conversation, have been so open about directions that I didn't know we were going to go in. But it's so helpful to be vulnerable because we need more of that, because we've all been through so much, especially the last 2 years, and we're all coming out, and just knowing that we're all in this together. and having more authenticity. And I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's been a big part of the way that I share my content is just be you. Like you don't have to be the person that you think other people expect you to be or post what you think you're supposed to post. It's just like, just be you and do you. And that's it. Yeah. And whoever wants to follow you, good. And they don't. And I realized that I was so caught up in that before this whole vegan thing happened. That was like my world, like social media. I was really into the social media world. And I feel like that had to happen because it brought me back to the present moment, to the people that were actually around me, my relationships with my husband, with my family, with my friends, like, and now I enjoy hours off of my phone and I don't really care, like, what a hater has to say. It's like,
I know. I get a lot of that. Yeah. I feel you. And Kat, they're like, are you and Kat friends still? Yes. We don't live together anymore, but we're still friends. Oh my gosh, are you pregnant, Karena? You look like you gained weight. No, I just went through a slump.
That's funny. I know. Yeah, it's cyberbullying is, and you know what? I feel like we're older. We didn't grow up with that. But I genuinely get concerned for little kids and for teenagers to have to deal with that. So I feel like there's a lot that can be done in that space. And
yeah, there's some programming through the Big Silence that we're reaching out to connect with the younger generation so that when we were kids, we didn't have the resources and who to turn to. But you were really smart turning to your dad and saying, this doesn't feel right. Because a lot of kids out there, they're not going to do that. And they're going to bury that and bury it for years. And the trauma will just stay there in their cells. So if you're out there, if you're a kid listening, speak up.
Speak up. Yeah. Your parents love you. And they want the best for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this conversation, Yovana.
Thank you, Karena. Yay. Yeah, it was great. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and we're going to put it all in the show notes on where to find you, how to follow you, what your website, but you want to shout out here,
You can find me everywhere as Yovana, 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 Instagram, YouTube.
Google her and you'll see her eating fish.
If you want to see me eating fish, go. It's funny that it's the first thing Google throws at you. It's okay. It's okay.
How dare you? All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Yovana. And thanks for listening.
The Big Silence. The Big Silence.